The weekly video recap will focus on the US dollar, which is approaching support and therefore a bounce or break spot. Very interesting. Let's take a look at the euro dollar, pound dollar, dollar yen, and AUDUSD in just a second. First of all, though, be aware that this video has the following conditions. It may not be suitable for everyone, so take a look at admiralmarketsglobal.com, select your country of residence, and contact an appropriate entity to find out more about that and other conditions and details. Also, trading forex exchange and global financial markets is considered high risk and may not be suitable for everyone. Therefore, please seek the advice of an independent financial advisor for more information on that. This video is for informational and educational purposes only, and by continuing watching this video, you agree with this disclaimer and you're aware of the risk involved when trading. With the euro dollar 1 hour chart, of course, the momentum continuing after 1.5 weeks ago, a big momentum of 500 pips to the upside, and we did see a push up and reaching the resistance zone that I was a bit targeting, in fact, the 110, 111 zone. So what I'm looking now is actually a break above or below this zone. The below could indicate the bigger correction. If we zoom out to the 4 hour chart, we can see that a bit better. Like this, we can see this is the big momentum I was talking about right in here. And we see a follow through to the upside. So that happened from a 38.2 fib. All right, and we came close to hitting the minus 272 target, but we failed actually so far to hit that. So if price does break above the blue line, then I would expect the price to continue up to that 111 zone and the minus 272 target. If it breaks below this particular bottom, let's say the 109, let me take a look, 109, yeah, 109.25, then I would expect a bigger correction to the downside to perhaps 107.50, such as this 50 fib indicates as well. That could be a support level. So that's what I'm looking for, these trend lines to give me a bit of advice here. Will price make a bigger retracement to the downside, and then this could be perhaps one leg up, or will it break above the resistance to push one more time for a little bit of a smaller push to 111 at the minus 272 target? All right, so that is the main question in my opinion. Now, of course, be aware of the news events this week. There are a lot of them, and on Wednesday specifically, the FOMC has a statement, and there will be a rate decision, perhaps about no, there will be a rate decision, but perhaps the dollar will go up with the interest rate by a quarter, perhaps not. That will be announced on Wednesday, which will of course have a big effect on all currency pairs, but specifically, of course, the dollar and this euro dollar as well. So that's going to be a big impact. So that's something to be aware of. Other than that, when we look at the daily chart, as I said, this is resistance, this is support. But from the long-term perspective, of course, it's going to be very interesting to see how this price responds to basically this bottom. If it breaks through that bottom, because maybe the interest rate has gone up, for instance, then we could expect a bigger downtrend on this weekly and monthly chart. And if price during that event stays in this zone, then perhaps this is just a bigger correction and price could stay here for a while still, maybe in the next few months going into 2016. So it's definitely going to be an interesting development for the long term as well, whether it can break through the support or will it stay and linger here within this sideways zone. Now we're going to keep an eye on that answer of that question throughout the week with multiple webinars. Ned, first of all, on Monday with his usual weekly FX recap. I myself take a look at live trading, moving averages, and the Forex strategy on Wednesday with price action. Then Wednesday evening, Nana takes a look at MACD in depth, and Thursday we take a look at what the trends were last year and if we spotted them correctly, and we make a new forecast for 2016. So I hope to see you in one of these webinars. All right, next on the list is the pound dollar daily chart, and we can see a very neat downtrend channel indicated by the blue lines, and price is reaching the top of the quarter here at the moment. We see price also having bounced off a 78.6 fib and reaching the minus 272 target as well. So that could be an interesting resistance level with this top nearby as well. So from that point of view, this could be a turnaround within the downtrend channel. The downtrend has been kind of slow. Has not a very steep angle, pretty shallow downtrend channel. So of course that does provide some interesting perspective. Will it, for instance, break above this channel and this turn out to be just a corrective channel? That's one scenario. If it is a bearish channel, I would expect eventually to get some acceleration below the channel for a bigger actually push to the downside. So keeping an eye on the top and bottom of this channel as well for long-term perspective of this pound USD. As long as it stays in the channel, obviously price is still in that downtrend and still maintaining the same angle, and at the moment it's pretty close to the resistance. Now there could be a small push still up, right? Then I would still think that the minus 61.8 target is just as strong of a zone as the minus 272. First of all, it's a fib. Second of all, it's the top of that channel. That could be a strong bounce spot to the downside. If eventually price does break above it though, then we know that, in my opinion at least, there is a long-term perspective for a bullish break. So when we zoom into the 4-hour chart, I'm keeping an eye on basically, sorry about that, there it is, about this trend line here. If it breaks above that, there is that space above minus 272 target for a continuation of this 4-hour uptrend, in fact, at the moment. Despite the daily downtrend, 4-hour is an uptrend at the moment. And then the 4-hour world could push it up to the minus 61.8 fib. There's about 100 pips potential there in that green arrow. Now, if price does turn around and fall from this minus 272 target, right, then I would like to see price preferably break below this support level, and we can see price fall within that downtrend channel to the bottom, and we test perhaps this support trend line right there. All right, so that's, I think, the two key levels to keep an eye on when looking at the pound dollar 4-hour chart. And otherwise, at this moment, I think that those are the most important things to monitor. Obviously, as I already said, if it then accelerates below this support line, it could fall back to the bottom of the channel, and then it would need to break the bottom of the channel for further acceleration, which could happen depending on the news event and how the market interprets that on Wednesday. All right, next on the list is the dollar yen. Dollar yen broke the consolidation here to the downside, right? But now pretty close to support. Not there totally as yet. So the next hook back could still see resistance and a fall down to that support level. Yet again, obviously, the green line is important because if price breaks that green line, there could be finally a bigger correction to the downside. However, if it breaks above this resistance level, these red levels here, for instance, first of all, this one, there could be a bigger breakout to the upside. So I'm keeping an eye on all these lines, in fact, for breakouts to down or upside. And this could be, of course, a bounce or a break spot. And the same holds true for this. Those are all break and bounce spots right there. All right, so I'm keeping an eye on each line for potential bounce or break. In fact, as you can see, something like this is a schematic of what I'm thinking about when looking at the dollar yen. And which one will happen? It really depends, of course, on some elite waves as well, I would say. If you're not a big wave fan, then you just want to keep an eye on those lines and I think see which one breaks, right? And which one where price bounces. And I used to keep an eye on which one of those is the most likely and take a look at, for instance, a breakout candle like that. That shows, of course, very good information that price was breaking to the downside, right? So price action signals at the support and resistance trend lines will provide information about that. And from the long-term perspective, if I look at the weekly chart, if price does break through this green line, obviously there could be the potential for a pretty sturdy correction, perhaps down to the minus 272 target, like this. However, if price breaks above the resistance, right, the confluence of red and orange lines, then perhaps there's a potential to continue with the trend to the upside, as we've already seen here, big trend to the upside, and there could be a trend continuation of this weekly chart. Not least, the AUDUSD daily chart hit the resistance at double top and now bouncing off support. So it's kind of caught in a wedge, clearly a pretty strong and long wedge, in fact, on the daily chart here. And I would say that this is a bouncing spot as well. This is a bouncing spot. And obviously, if it doesn't bounce, then it could break. So those are the kind of important things I would say to keep an eye on. If it does break above the double top, price could accelerate to the top of this wedge, this blue trend line here, now red. And we could see a resistance at that particular top. So I would say that this is the most important to keep an eye on at the moment. If I zoom into the 4-hour chart, actually it already made kind of an ABC zigzag here. So what I would like to probably see is the price making a hook back to that trend line and bouncing. Price could make a move up, but still make a hook back. And if it shows any weakness here, I think that could be an interesting bouncing spot for upside. So that's something I'll keep an eye on today and tomorrow. Thanks for listening to this recap. Hope to see you in the webinars of this week, and take a look at Admiral Markets in social media. A lot of content being produced daily on the website as well. Thanks again, and see you soon. Cheers.